Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to organize our first podcast, and the guy who is with us, he's very interesting and I like the way he's teaching, and I know you know him, and the guys who already studied in Coastmountain College in Rupert and in Smithers, they know him, and we are going to talk with him and we will learn from his stories, we will learn from his success, and it will be really fun conversation with him. And let's start the conversation now. Let's start now.
Testing.
Speak something.
Hello. Welcome to
Podcast.
my podcast.
My podcast. Okay, we are going to sit like that. Okay.
Do we need to look at the camera or do you want me to look at you?
We are fine with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Hello to everyone, and today we have a guest, and the name of the guest is David Geronazzo. Is it correct?
Yeah.
Okay. He is a MBA MGM, and I just want to confirm is it correct or not. He was lifeguard instructor, City of Kelowna. Is it?
Yep.
Okay. Aquatic leader, Berkeley Valley Regional Pool. Water park manager, City of Yorkton. Director of Recreation and Community Services, City of Prince Rupert. Director of Education, Training, Employment, Contest Learning Center. Executive Director of in Prince Rupert and District Chamber of Commerce. And lastly, currently he is doing business instructor for 4 years at Coastmountain College. Earlier he was at Prince Rupert, now in Smithers.
Perfect. It's like you read my LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, you know that. And is anything missing, or
No, that's great.
do you want to add something? Have you done anything before that?
No, not really.
Not really?
I mean, there was other jobs, but they were the same industry, same line of work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So let's begin now. So how are you today?
Very good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm a little bit nervous for it because it's first time, that's why. So first we begin with what's your daily routine?
Well, I live in a state of chaos. So routine is what I'm always trying to strive for.
Okay.
On an average day where I'm teaching, I will get up at 5 in the morning and I will prep for 2 hours before my kids get up.
Wow.
And then at 7 o'clock in the morning, I get my kids ready for school.
Mm-hmm.
They leave the house at 8 and I come to the campus.
Okay.
If I teach at 9, I get right into teaching.
Mm-hmm.
If I teach at 1, then I use the morning to prep. At lunchtime, I'll go for a walk and then I'll get into the teaching.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is good. And after that, in the evening, you play with your kids?
If I'm done work at 12,
Mm-hmm.
I go home and have a nap, usually until about 4,
Okay.
5. I just crash. I love my afternoon naps. That's my favorite part of the day,
Okay.
afternoon naps.
Is it like when nobody's at home? Okay, this is my peace time.
Exactly. You get it.
Okay, so can you add something like what's your daily routine with your meal? Like first meal, second meal, or third meal? What you eat it?
Well, I usually skip breakfast.
Seriously?
I just drink coffee up until I am hungry enough that I have to eat something.
Okay.
And then I'll have something for lunch, usually a couple sandwiches.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably going to have cheese on it. It's probably going to have some lettuce, tomato, maybe some onion. I like to have a nice crunch when I bite into the sandwich.
Okay, but do you
And then-
make your own?
I sometimes do, but usually I'm at the computer in the morning, so my lovely wife who takes care of me will make me a lunch.
That's good.
If I'm making the lunch, there's a lot less on it.
And have you ever tried cooking for your wife and for kids?
Yeah, I cook suppers a lot.
Okay.
I love to cook, actually.
Okay.
I don't cook as often as my wife traditionally, but I try to get in there and cook a couple meals a week at least.
Okay. What's your favorite dish then?
I like easy dishes. I like to throw everything into one pot and then cook it, and then it tastes good. So I'll do like a rice and bean dish, or I'll do like a chili, or I'll make pancakes if I'm doing breakfast. That's fun.
Wow.
I like fun dishes too.
Okay. And do you eat sugar or not?
Sugar? I don't add it to anything. I don't add it to my coffee or anything like that. But if it calls for it in the recipe, I'll put it in the recipe.
Okay. And do you prefer black coffee or with milk?
Oh, black. You got to drink black coffee, because if you're drinking it with milk and sugar, you're just drinking it for the milk and the sugar.
Okay.
The flavor of the coffee is best when it's black.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you have anyone in your surrounding who is vegan?
So I think the first question you're asking is, do I know someone who's vegan?
Do you know?
And I actually have a family member who is strictly vegan.
Okay.
And has been for several years. And that's my stepfather.
Okay.
My mother's significant other.
Okay.
And they've kind of lived a vegan lifestyle for years. And they chose to go into that for health reasons.
Okay.
And he's taken a deep dive. And I appreciate it because he's got this like wealth of knowledge about how to cook in a way that's healthy.
Okay.
For myself, I'm not. I eat a lot of meat. I like meat.
Okay.
If I have a supper without meat in it, I kind of feel like, what was the point? And personally, my own values on it are, if I can eat in a healthy way, I want to eat naturally.
Okay.
And sometimes meat is a natural ingredient that, I look for as a way to get protein and stuff in a natural way.
Mm-hmm.
My goals for my diet are to, I just touched my mic.
No,
my goals for my diet are to be more sustainable, local, and that might include more meat-free meals.
Okay.
And also, meat's really expensive these days. It's hard to rationalize that. So more and more, we find ourselves cooking meat-free meals and embracing it.
Do you know who you are talking? I'm vegan.
I do know, yeah.
So, step forward, like if you talk about childhood, where were you born? How was your childhood?
I was born in Kelowna, 1988. And so, late 80s, born in Kelowna. If you're not familiar, Kelowna is a relatively large city these days, but it has grown a lot. So back then it was a little more chill, a little more relaxed.
Okay.
I lived for most of my childhood out in the forest on the outskirts of the city. It took about a 15-minute drive to get into town. I spent all of my free time out in the woods. My family was from the area for a while, but my mother was American. So she moved to Canada in that area back when she was 10 or so.
Okay.
And they lived on a ranch way out in the woods. So a lot of like history in my family of just being outside in the outdoors, which is what I really love about living here. Mm-hmm. So that kind of was the start of it.
But now you are living in Whitsett?
I live just outside of Whitsett, this side of Whitsett, in a little neighborhood there on Alder Road.
Okay. Yeah. So I just want to know about how was your childhood? Like, were you a mischievous guy, naughty guy?
Mischievous.
Or just like, sitting
I
peacefully?
got in trouble a lot, but I don't think it's because I was mischievous. It's because I was not paying attention.
Okay.
I was absent-minded, distracted, oftentimes not listening to what people are saying, confused. Didn't really know what was going on around me.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't think so now.
Well,
let's not talk about
we could dive into that in a later question, maybe.
Okay. So next one, like I know you are not a mischievous guy, but have you ever think about in your childhood, like you want to be an instructor or any other dream job you have?
I didn't really have any dream jobs as a child. When I was still in high school, I got into teaching.
Okay.
And what it was through the recreation industry, where I started lifeguarding at the age of 16, and part of that was teaching swimming lessons.
Okay.
And I did lifeguarding swimming lessons all the way up until I finished my undergrad, and then even into my first few jobs. And you went through my resume at the start of it. I worked for different pools and stuff and kind of higher levels each time, but all still within that recreation field. And what drew me into that was actually the teaching side of it.
Okay.
And when I was 16, being able to get in the water, teach little kids how to swim, teach adults how to swim, I just found that I loved it and I got really passionate about it. But the path forward to me in my mind at the time was, where can I make money?
Okay.
And so that's why I went into the management side and I pursued my education and things like that. And it was just here 4 years ago where I realized maybe I should reconsider teaching. Maybe I should reconsider what actually made me passionate.
Okay.
And get out of certain jobs where it was just stress and a lot of overtime and things like that, and get into something that was a little more of a life balance and maybe where I could find my passion again.
Okay. And I want to just continue this one. Can you explain your teaching styles, which is like, I know it's very unique, because in India it's very different, and they more focus on theory part, even not on theory part also, but okay, it's very different. But here when I was there, it was really different. and it's like very catchy. It's very easy to learn also, and your tricks were very fabulous. I have already told you. Can you explain it?
Sure. And to start off, my teaching style, because I've only been teaching for 4 years, has drastically changed since I started. I've been trying to learn as much as possible, as fast as possible, about how to teach in a good way.
Okay.
And one of the benefits I have is I work for a college that believes in experiential learning and place-based learning. And those two things mean that in the classroom, we need to learn in a hands-on way, in a way where we can tangibly interact with the concepts. And I like that. That's what I want. I would describe my pedagogy as constructivist. And what I mean by that is I don't want to teach with the idea that my students should know something and then just go through the facts. I want to teach in a way where I can engage them where they're at and keep the context in mind, which is very, very tricky to do and it's easy to say. But in the classroom, what that ends up being in a practical way is I want to, shorten how much time I spend talking and increase how much time my students spend doing and look for ways to do. And the longer I teach, the more tools I can put in my tool belt, where I could just pull this out and say, hey, this is what we're doing now. And that makes it easier and easier to do that more. And I think there's a mix. I want to teach you the theory, but then I want you to do the theory.
Students, they really like the way you teach, and it's very relevant, and they always attach to that study because it's always a practical knowledge and some activities, so always engage with that. I'm just giving you that point. It's really catching and you're doing a really good job.
I appreciate that. That's a huge motivating factor for me, is when I see it click or when I have a student come to me at the end of class and go, I really like this. This is what I want to do with it. That's like, well, that's why I'm here. Love it.
That's why. Okay. So what was the moment in your life that significantly changed your life and how it impacted you today? Anything?
That's an interesting question. I don't know if there's a moment. Well, I mean, there's moments definitely that I've had that have changed my life. I remember very clearly when my first child was born. And I feel like before that moment, I was a child. And then after that moment, I was an adult, whether I liked it or not. And the growth that's happened since then has been amazing. And that's just one moment. I have 3 children. Each birth was, important. It was significant. I think getting married, forging a path forward with those that are close to me, moving to Saskatchewan, moving back to BC, taking on different responsibilities. And I think in the stage of life that I'm in now, the phase that I'm in now, being in Smithers, teaching, this is, it's a new experience for me, a few years old, and this is, only possible because of those other changes that I've had. I wouldn't say there's one specific thing, but there are changes that lead to different parts of your life, and each of those can be significant.
Okay. I just want to add, when you said your first child born, first you were a child, then you became an adult. And I have seen in movies, whenever a guy who is just naughty guy or mischievous guy, he was doing everything, but when he got his child, he was like, this is my world now.
Yeah.
Is it the really relevant feeling to you or different?
Yes. And I can't say that when that happened, I knew everything that I needed to know. I will say that suddenly I was extremely motivated to learn. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Moving on. Do you judge people by their faces, by their outfits, by their style, maybe in teenage? And do you want to tell them okay, you need to be considered this thing, otherwise your life will be ruined?
That's a tricky one, and I know my values. My values are that I don't judge.
Okay.
That's my value system. Whether that is something that I align with every moment of every day, no, probably not. There's definitely been moments in my life where I've looked at someone and judged them.
Okay.
But I try not to operate on a surface level judgment. I try to accept people where they're at. I value that, and I value I value the individual differences that people bring to any situation.
And why the other people are not considering these things?
I think a lot of people do consider or do consider a lack of, like, not judging people. I think it's easy to judge. It's natural.
Yeah.
We tend to fall into those familiar patterns of behavior. But I know a lot of people who value accepting people. And I think that's something that's becoming a part of our daily conversation more and more.
Okay. And if someone is judging you, and do you want to tell that person, I'm not that guy? Or do you want to like think whatever you want to think?
I tend to be pretty passive. I mean, I don't know what people judge me. I know, I have a certain physical appearance, and that could probably be taken a certain way. But I tend not to like pay too much attention to it.
That's good.
Or let it bug me.
Don't think about people. They're just people.
I'm off in my own little world.
Yeah,
like I said before.
Okay. Same. If you want to give advice to younger ones, like me, I'm in the road for the younger ones, what it would be, and to make us successful, and how to handle life, like work-life balance, how to work and stress, how, because you're doing it, family, work, everything is going on. How you balance it?
I've gotten better at balancing it. It's a tricky one. You only have so much you can spend each day of your own time and energy. And so you go into each day with an idea of what your priorities are. And I see this tendency for people to over prioritize areas of their life that maybe aren't as much of a priority. And there's, if you're in a job where you have to give everything all the time and you have to work overtime, that's possibly taking away from other areas of your life. It's only been the last few years where I've started to focus on things like being creative and pursuing hobbies where I can paint or create something just for the fun of doing it.
Okay.
And what I realized is how important that is to my mental health, because we're human, and a human is someone who creates. We are artistic beings.
Okay.
So we should be allowed or allow ourselves to engage in those things, whatever they are. Those pursuits that sometimes we think, well, if it's not going to make me money, then why should I spend time doing it? When in reality, if you can't create or do things that are making you happy, then what's the point of making money?
Okay.
So I've shifted my philosophy there, and that's helped me balance my life.
Okay.
And so how do I do it? I look at the next 5 steps, and I go, what could I do now to create a situation that I want to be in 5 steps from now, whatever those 5 steps are. And that's my advice to younger people, is to look at be always cognizant or aware of where you're going, and think about what steps you can do now to take you down that path. And if you do it in a strategic way where you're thinking, now I could go and volunteer with this organization because it will give me experience towards this objective. It takes away the stress and the hustle 5 years down the road where you're suddenly trying to get into something that you maybe weren't prepared for. So thinking ahead creates opportunities.
Okay, nice. But don't think so. You need to answer now. How do you stay motivated always? You already told.
I did mention one thing that motivates
Go
me
back
is
and
seeing the light of understanding in my students' eyes. When I see them catch a concept and go, okay, that's interesting. I'm curious about that. That motivates me. When I look at my class and everyone is kind of like zoned out and they're maybe it's the time of day, maybe it's the topic, and they're going, I can see them thinking, this is boring and I'm just waiting for it to be over. That demotivates me like nothing else.
I'm just adding it up. Have you ever came like, I haven't prepared for the class. You just came here and okay, I am not prepared today, but okay, let's try. Just experience, like, can we do or not?
I do have a bad habit of leaving things to the last minute.
Okay.
I kind of have to, because I won't remember what I prepared for a class unless it's like fresh in my mind. So that's why I get up at 5 in the morning and I prep for class at 9, because I need to do it just before class starts. Sometimes I've come into class and my plan doesn't work. So I have to adapt my plan on the fly. You may notice I don't post my PowerPoints before class usually.
Yeah.
That's because my PowerPoint isn't finished until class is finished.
Is it?
Usually I'm adding some things.
Because his students, students thinking, because he doesn't want to be shared in the bright space, because we can copy that. I think, okay, maybe.
It does have the downside of like if you're sitting in class and you have my slides up in front of you, sometimes I'll ask a question I want you to think outside the box for, and you'll have the answer. So the creativity, the constructivism, the learning that should happen here isn't really happening because you're just reading.
Okay.
I do try to avoid that, but the reality is a lot of times, the break will come up and I'll go, okay, this is working, this isn't working, let's throw this in, and then I'll just do a couple adjustments, and then I'll be off to the races.
Okay.
I like to keep it moving and dynamic. Good or bad, for good or bad. There's good and there's bad to that. It just works.
Leave it. So next one, how's your relationship with your family, kids, parents, and brothers and sisters?
I mean, overall pretty good.
Okay.
Every relationship with a family has its ups and downs. I have I think, a very close immediate family.
Okay.
My kids and I spend a lot of time together. We do things together. I like that. And I try to be very active in my role as a parent. And so I think that's really valuable.
Okay. And do you have friends? Do they matter in your life?
Yes, I have friends. I do have friends. Okay, you can't say I don't. No, I do have friends, a core group of a few.
Okay.
And the less friends I have, the more they matter.
Okay, that's good.
Do I have close friendships with family members?
Yeah, with your kids, do you understand, like, he has maybe less circle of friends, and I don't think so he can open it up with everyone, but he can open it with you because you are the idol for them.
I really value the idea that my kids could come to me with anything.
Okay.
And that, I think, is what you're getting at with the idea of being friends with your kids. It's not always possible to be a friend first with your kids, especially when they're young, because you have so many jobs to do with them. You have to keep them safe. You have to, get them to do things they don't want to do. But as they get older, I'm noticing it's more and more the case where we have periods of time where we are friends first, or we're doing something together where we can just focus on our relationship.
Okay.
Which is really great, and I really love that.
Okay. Next one. That's good one. Do you have any future goals to accomplish?
Yep, definitely. I have a goal to purchase an acreage in the Smithers area, and raise animals, and grow a garden, and build things, do things fun outside. That's my goal.
You will get, bro.
Yeah.
Easily.
One day.
One day, yeah. That's a very important for me. Main podcast thing, why I want to start it. It's how do you define the success? And if you think about your life, how do you feel proud to see where you are now?
I am in a place that I'm very happy to be in.
Okay.
There was a period where I thought success was a higher salary or more education. And those are beneficial. They can help you achieve a lot of goals. But what I'm now measuring my success by is how well I can be a parent to my kids, and how happy my family is, and whether they're achieving their goals or not, which is a very different approach, I think. It's much more, it's not something that you can compare to other people and go, I'm more successful or less successful than them, and I think that's healthy. It's healthy to step back and go, what other people are doing doesn't matter in measuring my success. My success is happening in here.
Okay, that's nice. Next one, just a fictional one. If you get any power, what will you do? And do you want to go back in the past? Just I'm giving you an example. If you want to go to past or change something, or do you want to change the system, or do you want to just have the power?
If I had any power, does it have to be tangible? Can it be magical?
Do whatever you want to do. You have power now.
Oh man, if I had power, I'd be worried about what I'd do with it. Probably what I do with it is get really rich and then hide in the woods somewhere in a nice cabin, nice simple life. Maybe have a spaceship,
Wow. Okay.
A nice simple life, but also a big spaceship.
Let's go to moon. Okay. And if you get a chance to meet a dream celebrity, who will be that person?
Dream celebrity.
And what will you do with that moment? Okay, let's do this one. Date, go walk, sit, talk. What do you want? You want to answer it?
Oh, there's just so many cool people out there.
Okay.
To narrow it down, there's a few comedians that I can think of where I've always thought like it'd be cool to just sit down and have a conversation with them, and just kind of see where the conversation goes. One of the Canadian comedians that my wife and I have talked about because we both have a very similar taste in comedy and we like to watch similar comedies. And there's a comedian that was part of an improvisation show, and his name is Colin Mockery.
Okay.
And she's always mentioned that that's her person to meet.
Okay.
And I've always thought, it'd be kind of goofy, it'd be off the wall. I don't specifically have one myself. I'm definitely borrowing hers and mentioning that, but yeah, that'd be cool.
Okay.
Or any other interesting people.
Okay. Next one is just try to give quick answers, rapid fire. What's your hidden talent that nobody knows? Quick answers.
I don't know. I like whistling. People probably know that though.
Yeah, you were doing it before that. Okay. And if you were to write a book, and what should it be about?
It would be a science fiction book. It would be a fun adventure among the stars, a bunch of adventurers going out and causing problems.
Okay. And have you ever Googled something that's embarrassing thing? Just like sometimes, I don't know what is the spelling of embarrassing. And is it double M or double R or double S? Okay.
If you looked at my Google search history, it would mostly be words I don't know how to spell.
Yeah, okay, I got it. And next one, if you could learn any language, what would it be and why?
I'm in the middle of learning French.
Okay.
My kids are in French immersion, and I would love to learn like 2 or 3 major world languages: Mandarin, Hindi, and maybe German.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll give you one word for thank you, and 2 can say in Hindi, shukriya.
Shukriya.
Yeah, you got it.
Shukriya.
Next time when you see an Indian guy, shukriya.
Shukriya. Perfect.
If you could, what's the most adventurous thing in your bucket list?
To do in the future.
Yep.
I in a few years, want to bicycle around BC. I want to bike down to the Lower Mainland, across, and come back up. But then I want to go to either New Zealand or Iceland or something and do the same thing there.
Wow. New Zealand is my favorite.
Oh, really? Have you been?
I don't know. I was trying for get visa. They're not giving me.
And now you're stuck in Canada. I mean, BC is the province that is most like New Zealand, from what I understand.
Yeah, kind of similar. Okay, next one. What's the best piece of advice you have ever received that was completely unexpected?
Completely unexpected.
Oh, you are giving me advice and it's really good.
Piece of advice. I can't think of an example.
You can pass.
I was told once, and I wouldn't say it was unexpected, but what I was told was it's really important to build a network of people who you can go to for advice, mentors or experienced people, and they're not necessarily like friendships, but they're important connections professionally. And that's advice I've used a lot. Okay.
Next part, what's your favorite book all of time?
My favorite book all of time. I love to read. I've read a lot of books, and I'm just trying to think. There's a book series that I think was the best, and that was Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan. Just this incredible series, but it's like 15 books
Sherlock
long,
Holmes?
and on the shelf it covers like this much space.
Okay. Is it Sherlock Holmes?
No, Robert Jordan. It's a fantasy series called The Wheel of Time.
Okay. Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
Dream vacation destination? Any?
Iceland.
Okay.
New Zealand.
New Zealand. Okay.
One of those.
Okay. Favorite movie or TV show?
Gladiator was my favorite movie and has been for a long time.
Okay. What's the one thing you can't live without?
Water, food, air,
Nice.
naps, afternoon naps.
Mountains or beaches?
Mountains.
Okay. Last song you listened to it?
last song I listened to. It is a playlist called ADHD focus music that I play while I'm prepping for class. It just goes do, 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 do.
Okay. Favorite meal of the day? Breakfast, lunch, dinner, what?
I love breakfast,
Okay.
but I skip it.
Favorite superhero or fictional character?
I love the Invincible series.
Okay.
In terms of superhero.
Okay.
The Omni-Man and his son Invincible.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
great series.
So it was my plan, but like when I start.
Yeah.
So when you were here, you need to be reminded that you get something really good, and if you got a gift, you will consider, okay, I have done a podcast with Harsimran, and it is in my mind, and you have something you can remind it of, and it's from my heart.
Oh, that's so nice. I love this. Yeah.
And my father always tell me, okay, do the meditation, but I am not into it, but I like it. I do it whenever
okay.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if you are into it, but for you, this is a gift.
That's awesome. I love this. This is a very good gift for me.
Thank you for your time.
Well picked.
No,
Thank you.
Lastly, how was your experience?
Oh, this is great. This was fun. If I had one thing to say to Harsimran for advice for the future is to just show up to class on time.
I'm not a morning person, that's why. And one more important thing, can you recommend another person for the podcast? Anyone?
Oh, there's so many cool people. If you're looking local, you mentioned a couple that you were planning to talk to. They're great ideas. Yeah, and I think find the niche people.
Okay.
You know, like with the class where we took over to the web boot company. What an interesting person Matt is. So someone like that, where you can just talk to them about their passion.
Okay, and it will be good for their business also.
Exactly. Why not?
Thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
See you.
The end of conversation, and this was our first podcast. Hopefully you all guys liked it. Like it, share it, subscribe it now. Don't forget to comment how was it, and so with your comments I will get motivated. So like it. I'll see you in another one podcast. Bye.